All right, so what we're gonna do is layer our clay out. But before that, I guess we should go over some of the tools that you'll need. You know, I have some dowels. They're not needed, but it does help control the width of the slab of clay. I also have a wooden rib. I have a serrated tool, or you could have a needle tool to score your clay, a wooden knife to cut your clay. I also have just a round cap to a bottle. It measures about 3.5 inches, and so anything between 3.5 to 4 inches, that's about the width of a cap that you would want for your project. And then I do have one of these rollers here that I'll use to roll the clay. But yeah, and some newspaper. And I think that's about it. And so what I want to do is I'll go ahead and wrap this roller. You could use a broomstick. It can be a an old pipe, PVC pipe. So if you have any laying around the house, it makes this project a lot easier to do. If you don't have one of these, make sure you ask me about one and I can loan one out to you, all right? But the easiest way to go about this is to just kind of gauge how long you need it to be. One sheet, just one of these single sheets should be plenty. So I'll just go ahead and mark it here. Go ahead and get our clay. I would begin with about maybe 3 fists, 3 to 4 fists. It's not a lot of clay. And then from here, we can go ahead and start hanging it on the table. Another thing that you could do is actually just flip it over. Eventually, we're going to use our template to go over it. Eventually, we could roll this. And that newspaper prevents it from sticking to the pipe. Now these dowels here, they do help control the width of your clay, so I'll continue rolling.
You can see that I have more than enough, right? But we want to be able to fit and cut a piece of that base. So we're going to go ahead and continue rolling this just a little bit more. I'll flip it.
I'm just working with a little bit of water, as you can see. Use that to really smoothen our clay. what we want to do is make sure we have our template and enough space, enough clay for our round template for the base. I'm going to go ahead and just make an imprint on the clay. And I'll have that circle there. And prepare this template. Here. I'll go ahead and I'll use my wooden knife. And then what I'll do is just go ahead, roll it like a wheel. Take any boogers off. With all this clay that I have, I'm just going to set that aside for now. Fold it. Set it aside. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this out a little bit further. As you can see, it's a bit thick. It's almost as thick as my pinky, and I want to thin that out. Now, if you keep it that thick, it's going to end up being too heavy, so I'm just going to thin it out maybe a little bit more. And that'll give it a little bit more of a thinner width. That's about half the size of the pinky. Now, as you can see, half the size of the pinky. Do the same thing here. Let's roll. A little bit thinner, and I'm not using the dowels anymore. Just going to eyeball this and feel to make it thinner. And we'll recut our template in a few, just thinning this out. What we're aiming for is half a pinky. And I'll pick it up just to gauge how thick it is. All right, we're getting there. There we go. That feels about right. You just run your hand over it. Feel there's a bit of a high spot there. High spot here and here. We'll roll that evenly. All right. All right, from there, what we want to do is compose a test fit. All right. We're going to test fit on this cup, and we want to go on top of the form All right, and what I mean by that is that there goes our form, and we want to go on top of it. All right, we want to go on top and not on the side. That would be wrong. This would be the correct way. Good, we'll do our test fit. Well, it looks like we have we're going to cut right here. There's going to be a bit of overlap. We're going to go ahead, take our needle tool, cut all the way straight down. Remove the extra clay. And our walls should fit flush. All right. And from here, all we need to do is just slip and score. Take a bit of water. Get it muddy all the way around. A little bit of water. Get that real muddy. So adhesion can go and do its work. We want to do the same thing here. For each of the walls, we want to be able to score it. And at this point, I want to make sure we're able to lift it up, move it around, get it fitted on there. Make sure to get it stuck. We're going to go ahead and grab our wooden knife. We're going to go ahead and blend towards us. Smoothen that with a fairly dry sponge. Maybe more dry than it is wet. All the way around. We're going to repeat the same thing here with the outer seam. Want to make sure that's blended. But before I do that, I want to press it on together. Blend real well. We don't want this to split apart. Do the same thing on the inside. Just with our wooden knife. Blend that clay. And at this point, we need to work on that seam down there. All right, work on that seam in there, all the way at the base. We're going to take one of our coils here, or one of our strips of clay that we rolled. We're going to roll it into a coil. Just want to make sure we have enough, about the same width as the circumference of this cup. We're going to go ahead and insert that coil. We're going to fish it down there. Get it all the way in the corner. And if there's extra, which it looks like there will be extra, we can cut some of that off. Use the needle tool to cut. Fish it out. We have a lot of extra. And then smoothen it out. Make sure it gets blended. A little bit of water on the tip. You see it blended. And you see where it's not blended. About halfway done. Go ahead and blend that out. And I'm just using this part of the tool. This part of the wooden knife right there with a little bit of water. As you can see, it's wet. With just a little bit of water all the way around. Now for day one, what you should have is a flat bottom. You should have all the sides mended. You should have the sensor mended, the inside mended, and all the way at the bottom, that ring, right, that coil that we added should be mended. All right, and that's day one progress.